Must we forget that we talked about this way back when, how good the teams in the Big 12 were going to be this season? Did you doubt us? You've got a feeling about a certain team? Well, it's Monday Musings right here, and it's time to get into the life of what's going on in the Big 12 for women's basketball today on Locked On Women's Basketball.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, friends. It is Monday, December 16th, 2024. Your number of available shopping days for the holidays is dwindling fast. So get those gift lists out and get to work. And if you have an elf on the shelf in your house, well, may the force be with you. Hi, everybody. I am Missy Heidrick, national correspondent at The Next and college basketball analyst. So happy to have you here with us on Locked On Women's Basketball. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free today at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On NBA newsletter. And Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Well, don't look now, but this first part of the 2024 college basketball season is getting ready to be done. Non-conference play. We're going to have a few games sprinkled over the next couple weeks and maybe one or two in January, February. But for the most part, we have reached the end of this part of the journey. We've had some outstanding games since that first Monday in November. And as we race to the holiday break, there are definitely going to be more to come. Our Monday Musings today, we're going to bounce around all over the Big 12 Conference. 16 teams, 4 that are new this season. 4 are just in their second go of it. The regular season has been a gauntlet for some in these early weeks, and others have found their footing maybe faster than we had thought. And guess what starts this upcoming weekend? You got it, conference play. And so today we're going to check in on what life has been like in the non-con for Big 12 teams and what lies ahead on that first weekend of upcoming conference play in the new look, yet again, Big 12 Conference. All right, well, let's start with some of the numbers just to set the scene for you, to kind of let you know where all of these teams have stood to begin with. Well, the new AP poll is out for week 7 of the college basketball season. It dropped probably about an hour ago, Central Time for me. There are 3 teams in the Big 12 that are ranked in the top 25. TCU in at 13, Iowa State at 14, TCU at 12, Kansas State at 13, West Virginia at 14. My apologies to everybody out there. We've got a logjam at 12, 13, and 14. Iowa State, they are out of the poll this week. They did receive 33 votes. That puts them at number 27. Oklahoma State also received 3 votes, and that's one of the first times they have appeared in the receiving vote category this season. The Cowgirls themselves coming in now, they are at 9-1. The other number that everybody wants to talk about, but I always tell everybody to kind of take a breath, and we got a slow roll net rankings. It tells us a lot, I think, about how teams have responded early in the season, but that net ranking, NCAA evaluation tool, is what net stands for. Now, there are 5 teams in the Big 12 in the top 50 of the net. Iowa State is in at number 55. The top ranked team in the net right now out of this league, that would be Kansas State. They sit at number 3. What does this have to do? It has to do with where you played, how efficient you were, and what the results of that was. So all of those things come into play, puts Kansas State in at number 3 in the net ranking. And as we said, they are in at number 13 this week in the AP top 25. Let's talk about the Wildcats, because they are at 11-1. The only blemish on their record as of right now is a loss to Duke at a neutral court in Las Vegas over the Thanksgiving holiday. The Wildcats have had 1 true road game throughout the course of this non-con, and they decimated Texas A&M out of the SEC in College Station over a week ago. They then had a week off because of finals on the Manhattan campus, and then they had another neutral site game this past Saturday, and that was in St. Joe, Missouri, a homecoming of sorts for senior guard Serena Sundell. She's from a town called Maryville, Missouri, which is right outside of St. Joe. So that homecoming did bring a win for the Wildcats. Now, they took on a tough mid-major team. A year ago, they played this game in St. Joe. They went up against SEC foe Missouri. This time around, Middle Tennessee comes in to this neutral site, a very tough mid-major program and one that has had a ton of success. A very interesting matchup for Kansas State. And if you looked at the numbers, did not go well for the Wildcats in the first half. They were down 26-25, down one, only scored 25 points, 13 in the first quarter, 12 in the second. But then they put their foot on the gas and they outscored Middle Tennessee by a bunch to be able to win 74-48. Maybe not the best of shooting days in total for this Wildcat squad, but I think the beauty of it is you got to figure out a way to grind out a win. And that's exactly what Kansas State did. They had 3 players in double figures, limited minutes, just 21, a little over 21 minutes for 6'6" All-American center Ioka Lee, the centerpiece of this Kansas State team on both ends of the floor. She ends with 16 points and 7 rebounds, 8 of 12 from the free throw line, making people pay for putting her at the charity stripe. As we said, just about 21 minutes she played in that game. They hold Middle Tennessee for the game to just 28% from the field, 27% from 3. This Wildcat squad has hung their hat on their defense, but their scoring margin has been immense. They've got one non-conference game left this week, and then they will open up on Sunday. We will talk about that later of what the first weekend of conference play is going to look like. But Kansas State sitting at the top, 11-1. The other teams behind it, we talked about TCU. They are in at number 12 in the AP poll this week. Their one blemish on their record has been that very lopsided loss they took at home to South Carolina. It just seemed as though they were overmatched at certain points within that game. Sedona Prince, her pick and pop, pick and roll outside game, not very effective against South Carolina. They did a great job of being able to shut her down. TCU did get a win on Sunday, December 15th, a 92-41 victory over Louisiana Tech at home. They themselves kind of sitting pretty here as you look at this TCU squad. A lot of pieces of the puzzle. I think one thing, we mentioned it last week when I had Matthew Walter on this podcast for this TCU squad. Maddie Shear will not be available for the Horned Frogs for the rest of the season. She had transferred, had been at Oregon, and then spent a year at Kentucky, transferred to TCU, was going to give them great depth and another perimeter shooter. She is out for the season with a back injury and unavailable to them the rest of the way. I think that kind of lack, it's dwindling the numbers available on the perimeter for TCU, and I think that's something you've got to keep your eye on. Another team that's sitting at 10-1, also with a big win yesterday at home over a Big Ten team, Kansas, able to hold on, and they get a victory 68-65 over Penn State in Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence. This KU team very quietly figuring out a way to get it done. And I think I like about Kansas is that it's balanced. And if you haven't already seen the game of Samaya Nichols, the sophomore, 6-foot sophomore guard who's from the Kansas City area in Shawnee Mission and Overland Park, then you've got to put your eyes on Samaya Nichols. 37 plus minutes, 6 of 17 from the field, 26 points, 5 assists, 6 boards. She goes 13 of 16 from the free throw line. She drew 14 fouls in that game against Penn State yesterday in that W at home. That talks about efficiency and the ability for teams to be able to get her stopped. It hasn't happened in the non-conference. We will have to see what the scatter reports look like in the Big 12 and if they have a chance to keep Samaya Nichols contained, because otherwise this is a Kansas squad starting to find their footing, as we mentioned, maybe a little sooner than some had thought. Another team you cannot ignore, West Virginia, again, in at number 14 right now. The Mountaineers sit at 10-1. We know how talented they are with just an electric and dynamic backcourt for the Mountaineers. Second year for Mark Kellogg there in Morgantown. The only loss that this West Virginia team has suffered so far was a 78-73 loss to Texas back on December 1. At the time, Texas was ranked 5th in the nation. They continue to rise, but this is a group right now as they handle Temple on the road, 68-46 on yesterday on December 15th. I really like the balance of this West Virginia team. They are going to defend one of the best defenses in the nation, let alone in the Big 12. And that is going to be a handful to get them stopped. So we've talked about the teams that are sitting at the top. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few others, those that have kind of run into the gauntlet and the buzzsaw of what their schedules have looked like and who is rising to the top. A word from our friends at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. And this show is also sponsored by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy maybe during the winter months? For some, it might be sitting on the couch, watching a movie, hanging out with family, figuring out what the best way is to spend your time in the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the seasons change. And this can be a hard time of year for many, and no one should feel like they are alone. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Hi, everybody. I am Missy Heidrick, and welcome back to Locked On Women's Basketball. We've been bouncing all over the Big 12, kind of telling you what's been going on and giving you the lay of the land because we are headed towards the first weekend of conference play. Now, some people are asked, there are leagues. We know the Big 10 has already started their conference play. The Big 12 in the past hasn't necessarily started until after the first of the year. Well, because of the way the schedule is set and because the Big 12 is playing an 18-game schedule this year, there is one conference game that happens prior to the holiday break. All Big 12 teams will play 3 opponents, home and home. They will have 6 opponents they will play just at home, and they will have another 6 that they will play just on the road. Do the math, figure it out. It's a bit complicated, but what it really does is gives us amazing matchups all throughout the season once we hit go. All right. Let's talk about a couple other teams in total before we think about previewing some of those games and who some of the players are that you need to keep your eye on as this season begins. Let's talk about the Iowa State Cyclones. It has been a gauntlet for Iowa State throughout the course of this season to begin with. The Cyclones right now, they sit at 9-3. Many would have thought, wow, but when you think about some of the losses that they have taken and the teams that they have gone up against, well, it is not a surprise. And staring at them is a matchup tomorrow on the 17th against UConn. This Iowa State team falls out of the top 25, having lost at Iowa over the weekend in what was a great matchup back on Wednesday, December 11th. They lost 75-69 in Iowa City. That was the third of the games that they have against their Iowa opponents. They played UNI, of whom they lost to. They beat Drake, and then they lost to Iowa in Iowa City. But this Iowa State team, having taken it on the nose to UNI, And then they also had a very tough outing against South Carolina, a tough schedule that has been a great challenge for the Cyclones. But don't let the record deceive you. That is the one thing I will tell you about this Iowa State team. Because of the way that they and the weapons that they have, it starts out front for them with their point guard play and fifth-year senior Emily Ryan. She comes back to Ames, some unfinished business, I think, for herself, one of the career all-time assist leader in Iowa State history. And she is setting her eyes on becoming the all-time assist leader in the Big 12 as well. She's in sole possession of second place right now in league history. I have a feeling she will break that record this season. Then there is the fantastic sophomore duo of Audie Crooks and Addie Brown. Those two obviously now circled on everybody's scouting report. You've got to figure out a way to get them stopped. But when the other has had troubles or maybe a double, triple team, the other has stepped up. And some definite, I think, complementary players on the floor for Bill Finley. I am not worried about this Iowa State team. I think they have so many pieces that you need to put together to be competitive in this league. And I will tell you right now, folks, I don't think anybody's getting out of the Big 12 undefeated this season. There are going to be losses, multiple ones. With that said, don't worry about the Cyclones now. This tough schedule, big time competition that they've had in the non-conference, just getting them uber prepared for Big 12 play. All right, another team to keep your eye on is Oklahoma State. As we said, they've received 3 votes right now in league play. The one thing I would tell you about this Oklahoma State program, as they sit today, they are now at 9-1. The Cowgirls have challenged themselves with their non-conference, but they have also been able to figure out a way to score the basketball. And I think that's the one thing that I have really liked about what Oklahoma State has done here so far. Their only loss of the season, a 57-53 loss versus Richmond. That was on a neutral floor over the Thanksgiving holiday in Daytona Beach. But this team has been able to score the basketball, and this team has been able to defend. So give credit, because Oklahoma State is one to watch. Also, I like to say I think the winds are kind of blowing in the right direction in Lubbock, Texas. A little bit of a surprise coming from this Texas Tech squad. They are 10-2 right now coming into this week. A second loss of the year. Their first loss came in November 28th, and that was, again, on a neutral floor. That was to Florida State, and that was an 8-point loss, 70-62. Their second loss of the season at SMU on December 11th, and that was a 4-point loss. 2 losses by total of 12 points so far this year. But now you have to circle what they did yesterday on the 15th of December, and that was a huge road win at Arkansas. You beat an SEC team. A lot of people are going to turn their head. Give credit, because now, I will say, I don't think this is the best Arkansas team that is out there that Mike Neighbors has had. They are going to struggle. They were picked last in the SEC preseason poll. However, I think this is a test. Anytime you go on the road to an SEC opponent and you get out of there for a win, if I'm Krista Gerlich, you say, yes, let's go. You pack it up, you get back on that plane, and you get back to Lubbock as fast as possible. But this Texas Tech team right now, finding some balance. Bailey Maupin, she had 25 points. She goes 7 of 14 from the field in that win over Arkansas. They win 75-72. And I think some of the things you have to think about is that they scored 42 of their 75 points were in the paint. They got 21 points off their bench. And their defense, while they held Arkansas to 45% from the field, just 33% from 3, the Razorbacks go 7 of 21. But Texas Tech did not need the 3-point shot. What they were able to do yesterday in attacking Arkansas, that was the difference maker. Just 2 of 11 from behind the 3, but they shot 48%, and they went 21 of 25 from the free throw line. When it counts, you got to step up and make free throws, especially on the road. I like what I'm seeing out of Texas Tech. I think they're going to make some noise in this league. And the one thing I think the difference between years past, when we've seen a bigger win total coming into conference play for the Lady Raiders, is that they had done that at home. They have not necessarily done that. The challenge has been in different ways this season for this Texas Tech squad. As we said, you go on the road to an SEC team and you beat Arkansas. They were able to handle Gonzaga. They were able to handle Missouri State. All of that right there really changes how you approach and have a mindset coming into conference play. And I think that that's exactly where Texas Tech is as well. The other one I want to point out is this Utah team and this Utah squad. A lot of changes coming for Utah, but they sit at 9-2 right now. We know that Lynn Roberts has left. She's no longer the head coach there. She took the LA Sparks job in the WNBA, turned over the reins as head coach to Gavin Peterson. He was named head coach by the Utah administration. Seemed like a no-brainer, had been with Roberts the entire 10 years she had been at Utah. This was a seamless transition, and I think that they have done that quite well. They also go get a big road win against a Big Ten team. They beat Washington in Seattle 67-57. They get 24 points from Gianna Neepkins. She was one of those players of preseason all Big 12 conference selection. I really like what her game brings and just consistency across the board, but they do it with defense. They hold Washington to just 38% from the field and only let them have 12 trips to the free throw line, while Utah themselves went 17 of 19 from the line. Hard to beat somebody at home if you can't get to the line, and they are that good themselves from the charity stripe. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more about what some of these tests mean and what it looks like as we think about conference play in the Big 12. Well, first, a message from our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. If you were watching that Buffalo-Detroit game yesterday, those absolutely, it was changing minute by minute. That's where you can have big payoffs. Keep your eye on all of those great matchups as we go forward. The playoffs are just around the corner in the NFL. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Hi, everybody. I am Missy Heidrick, and welcome back to Locked On Women's Basketball. We've been talking about life in the Big 12, which is never easy. 3 teams ranked in the top 25 AP poll that just dropped not so long ago. You've got 5 teams in the top 50 of the net rankings, the NCAA evaluation tool. Iowa State comes in at number 55, the highest ranked team in the net right now. That would be the Kansas State Wildcats. They are in at number 3. They were also ranked number 13th in the AP poll. TCU at 12, West Virginia at 14. All right, what lies ahead? Well, as we said, unlike other years in the past in the Big 12, where conference play doesn't start until after the holiday break, oh no, we are going to get games throughout next weekend. Now, coming in, I just want everybody to remember, I feel like this league is all boats are rising. Like everyone is moving in the right direction. From last Friday, the 13th, through Sunday, the 15th, this league was 9-1. The only blemish on the league record in Friday, Saturday, Sunday games was a 57-50 loss by Arizona State at UC Davis. There are 2 games on the non-conference slate today. McNeese at Oklahoma State. We talked about the Cowgirls. They have gotten receiving votes right now. They themselves sit at 9-1. And Weber State will be at Arizona. Those games will be played today on Monday, December 16th. A couple other non-conference games this week. One to keep your eye on, a national game, Iowa State at UConn tomorrow, Tuesday, the 17th. And then a few others splintered there, but just wait until you get into Saturday, December 21st. That is when Big 12 action is going to kick off. You start with TCU at UCF. I think this is going to be a great challenge for TCU to have to go out on the road. The #1 scorer in the Big 12 is from the UCF Golden Knights, and that is Caitlin Peterson, the senior guard. She's averaging over 22 points a game instant offense. If that's what you need, Caitlin Peterson is your gal. They are going to have a big test in front of them themselves with TCU coming to town. But I think it is one where they are going to put up a very big fight. Arizona will go to BYU. Now, the Cougars are interesting to me. We talked a little bit about them in the preseason as they knew they had to get bigger and faster and stronger. All of those things, a faster pace to their game as well. And they have one of the shining fab freshmen in this league, Delaney Gibbs. She had a career high 26 points in their win at Washington State on Friday, December 13th. She was 11 of 18 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the three-point line. They open at home against Arizona. I would look for BYU to be able to capture that first win of the conference play this year at home. I think they are very good, and I love Delaney Gibb. And I like the system they're running, as we said, faster, more pace to it. And those are all things that I think are going to be a benefit for the Cougars as they get into the grind of Big 12 play. Baylor will play at Kansas. Now, this is a Baylor team. They've had their ups and downs. Tough schedule, a lot of opportunities. Have only lost 2. They are 9-2. Kansas at 10-1. That game will take place in Kansas, in Lawrence. We mentioned Samaya Nichols for the Jayhawks, the sophomore, but this is also a Baylor squad with a ton of veteran leadership, as well as big posts and versatile scorers inside. I think Nikki Collins' team really kind of gearing up, getting themselves prepared for what Big 12 play will look like. I think that's a really good matchup between Baylor and Kansas. Iowa State, after they manage and have to deal with UConn in the non-con this week, then they will travel and open at Oklahoma State. Huge challenge for the Cowgirls and a big opportunity for Iowa State, depending on how things go at UConn, where I think that they can be very competitive, but that's going to be a big road game. How will they respond having to open conference play on the road? A tough 2-game swing for the Cyclones, but I think that they can and will be able to handle the Cowgirls in Stillwater. Arizona State opens at Utah, and then West Virginia in at number 14 this week in the AP poll. They will open at Colorado. Now, this is a Colorado squad. They themselves 9-2, but it's been a little shaky, haven't had as many great performances, but yet still have found a way to win ball games as West Virginia does. This West Virginia squad, the top scoring defense in the Big 12 this week, 48.9% points allowed. Colorado has been scoring just over 74 themselves. So this will be a battle. High scoring offense against the best defense in the league. Then you turn the calendar to Sunday, December 22nd. 2 other games to keep your eye on. The first is going to be Cincinnati at Kansas State. This will be the Big 12 opener for both teams. It'll be a home game for the Wildcats. As we said, they've only played 1 true road game. That was at Texas A&M. They've had 3 neutral site games, 2 in Las Vegas, where they lost to Duke, beat DePaul, and then it was a neutral site game where they handled Middle Tennessee this past weekend in St. Joe, Missouri. Now, Cincinnati themselves, how did the Bearcats sit? Well, they sit at 7-2, and it's been a bit up and down, but I think more finding their footing than they probably were at this time a year ago. And some of that happens and helps because they've had more guard play. That was an area of focus for Coach Merriweather and the Bearcats. They went into the portal and found themselves some guard help. And then you've got a prolific scorer and a young woman by the name of Jillian Hayes. And I really like her game. Over 19 points a game so far this season. She is 5th in the league in scoring. She's incredibly effective and hard to contain. Another one of those players that draws a huge number of fouls in every game, gets herself to the free throw line, and makes people pay for putting her at the charity stripe. That physicality, versatility, and hard finding a matchup that can contain Hayes, that will be something that will be circled on the scouting report if you are Kansas State. And now as we have head into Big 12 play, I would look for more minutes and the reemergence of a much more, let's just say, pointed post game from this Wildcat squad in the minutes that they need and how they will use Ioka Lee going forward. They have been able to manage the non-conference, not having to give her a ton of minutes. They've given her some load management opportunities, games where she's been able to take off or not played as many minutes in general. I think all of that changes now when you flip the script as this Kansas State team is chasing a conference title. They were picked first in the preseason poll. The other game on Sunday, December 22nd, as we get this first opening weekend of Big 12 play, is going to be Houston, who right now has had their own struggles. They sit at 3-7, but they're going to be at Texas Tech. And we mentioned the Lady Raiders. They are coming off a big win on the road at Arkansas. Huge momentum boost for this Lady Raider squad, and they will open play on the 22nd at home against Houston. You want to keep your eyes. We mentioned Caitlin Peterson, the top scorer in this league. Audie Crooks of Iowa State, who will have a big matchup on national television tomorrow against UConn. She's averaging about 22 points a game. We mentioned Samaya Nichols, another super sophomore out of Kansas. Haley Van Lith of TCU. She's in at number 4 as the top scorer. Jillian Hayes at 5. JJ Quinterly of West Virginia at 6. Sedona Prince and Gianna Neepkins, they are tied at 7, both averaging about 17.5 points a game. There are fantastic scorers, defenders, and great team defense in this Big 12. It is all going to be on display when we start to see conference matchups. So get ready, everybody. We know that other leagues have started. Some will be after the break, but the Big 12 is going to be in action coming up this weekend. Get ready and be prepared, because it is going to be a whirlwind and a gauntlet of a Big 12 schedule from now until March. Well, you can find me at Missy Heidrick on X, formerly known as Twitter. And then please go see all of my amazing colleagues at The Next, www.thenexthoops.com. You can follow this podcast as well at Locked On WBB. We appreciate all of you and are so thankful that you come and you listen and you watch and let us share and kind of keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of women's basketball. Well, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On NBA newsletter. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Have a fantastic week. Enjoy all of the amazing games that are out there. Keep your eyes peeled to Big 12 action on Saturday, the 21st, and on December 22nd. And wishing all of you a very happy and healthy holiday season.